excited. We're so excited. Up next for race number 6, we take the streets of Monte Carlo for the Monaco Grand Prix 2026. In this video, we're going to review my fantasy lineup, which will practically be a funeral for my Mercedes point score this weekend. Attack the track, understand the tight corners, the chicanes, what the key corners of Monaco look like. Go back in time and remember Monaco last year. And finally, predict the future. What should my lineup be in my hopes to become the F1 FF Rookie Grand Prix World Champion? I break my chair. Okay, so starting with a lineup review, I had this team coming out of Miami. Now, I made 2 switches going into Canada. One was Lawson to Bottomtas. Now, if I tell you I had 0 faith in Bottomtas, I had negative faith in Bottomtas. He ended up getting me 0.6 million price rise plus a 12-point fantasy point score. Incredible. I think one of my best picks that weekend. So never underestimate the ones you underestimate is what I'm learning. Turns out all you needed to do is chill at the back of the pack and not crash your car in order to come in 16th in the race. Then I also went from Ferrari to Mercedes. If I had stuck with them, it would have been magical to have Ferrari in Canada. However, who would have thunk it? I could not have predicted that George's engine would have just stopped in the middle of the race, in the middle of an epic battle between him and Kimi. And yeah, such is life. I'm gonna deal with it. George is gonna have to deal with it. It's okay. It's actually crazy though how he got fined for being pissed about his engine stopping. Like, would you not? My other constructor was McLaren, who had a beautiful 12 points in Canada. And Ferrari ended up having 37, so huge L on that one. Now let's talk about the track. Monaco is a big race that spectators are excited for in the calendar, but the day ones call the worst race of the year. The reason why is because it's so tight, there's no space for overtakes, and race position is only determined based off of qualifying. So you better make sure you qualify well and pay attention to practice. It is the shortest and the slowest race on the track at 3 kilometers in length, and some hairpins require drivers to slow down as slow as 50 kilometers an hour. Oh, I could do that race. No, I couldn't. Going back, now the top 5 in 2025, we had Lando, Leclerc, Piastri, Verstappen, and Hamilton. They were the top 5 of 2025. Now this year should be super interesting because of the standings of all these drivers. Sound. Content creator. On track. So for Lando, I'm sure Lando will start on the right tyres this weekend, yet their engine is going to be affected by those new regulations. In fact, 5 teams are going to have different engine capacities this week, so that should be extremely interesting. Mercedes and Mercedes customer teams, so McLaren, Alpine, and Williams, they all have that same engine. We shall see in the practice. Leclerc had the worst race of his career last week, so that's not great coming into Monza. Piastri T-boned Albon last week and looked as depressed as the Canadian weather. Verstappen had a shitty car all year so far, but made it work last week and got to P3. That being said, it was due to the failure of the other drivers. And Hamilton is on the rise, which I love to see. Guys, I have no idea which team to pick for this week. Please help me out. I have maybe 2 or 3 options. Let's see what I can put together. The big question is, do I do Limitless? And who would be on my Limitless team? So at the moment, big player Antonelli, and I have 2 great constructors. Do I need to do Limitless, or can I just stick with my great driver and my mid tiers and just make 1 switch? And then I'll also be able to save that move till Barcelona. My Limitless team would be, so I'm a bit scared for Mercedes, obviously, with the changes in the engine regulations. So that's a big thing. So here is a direct quote from Alpine about the engines. They said active aerodynamics will be prohibited at the Monaco Grand Prix for safety reasons. Drivers will not open their front wing or rear wing throughout the entire weekend. this gives me a clear choice of either Charles or Lewis, or both of them with my Limitless chip. Now I do have all of my chips in play, so I could go with the ×3, I could go with the no negative, I could go with the Limitless. Which one shall I go with? Options. But yeah, the drivers would be Antonelli, has to be Leclerc, even though he had the worst race of his season last race. Antonelli, Leclerc, Hamilton. Constructors, Ferrari, Mercedes. And then I would just have 2 drivers to fill. I think Limitless is no cost cap, right? So I'm feeling Verstappen. It's so crazy to me because I really do not like Verstappen, or did not. But the way he was with my boy Lewis, it was just endearing. So, you know, Verstappen, and not just that, obviously he's a great driver. But I think Red Bull has a Mercedes engine, right? So they also will be affected in the race. And my final one would have to be one of my McLaren boys. So I would go with Norris, because I think he just has more hunger than Piastri right now. So yeah, those are my 5, my 2 constructors, Ferrari and Mercedes, and just hope none of them crash out on each other and that Kimi stays calmy. All right, so option A, it is looking like a Limitless option. Monaco is not a race for the weak, it is for the wicked and the experienced. So I would do Limitless and pick the strongest technical drivers. So that would be Lewis, that would be Charles for the win, please, again in Monza. So Lewis, Charles, I would go with Lando. Verstappen has been on my radar. I think either between Kimi and George, and again, practice is going to be so important. Luckily, I think we have 3 of them, so that's going to be so important for me to determine what my Limitless is, but it's a mixture of those guys, Kimi or George. And then for the constructors, I think I would drop down to my Ferrari and Mercedes. McLaren may be out the window, but maybe not, because they are affected by the Mercedes. The McLaren are also affected by the Mercedes engine change, so probably we'll have to see. And then option B is simple. I pick up Ferrari and I get rid of Hulkenberg, whatever his damn name is, to pick up a budget builder like Bortoleto. So regardless of his points, he still will earn me some budget for next week. What do you think? Let me know. Help a girl out.